You know, they said that democracy was on the ballot at this election. And guess what? It was. And democracy won. After the election of Donald J. Trump, far from tanks on the street in the wake of his landslide, which was the biggest Republican win in 36 years, Joe Biden and Donald Trump actually sat down at the White House for what looked like a very cordial meeting this week.
Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need, and we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
Good.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
very much, and thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome.
Isn't that lovely? What a beautiful meeting. And it suggests to me a few things. Number one, it tells me that the president and the first lady probably aren't all that unhappy with the outcome of the election, despite what they had to say. Because, you know, when they got together, there was even a fair bit of speculation over the red suit Jill Biden was wearing. People wondered, was she coming out as a shy Trump voter after the way the Democrats treated her husband? And this question was only bolstered by reports in the New York Times that Biden, far from being totally out of it, cannily endorsed Kamala Harris just 30 minutes after he was deposed as the candidate, leaving the Democrats with a dud candidate he knew couldn't win when the party elders wanted to run an open primary process. Well, so much for that, guys. But then, the second thing it tells me is this. Having been outfoxed by Joe Biden, the Democrat Party has a big, big problem. Politically, intellectually, spiritually, it's got nowhere to go. Why do I say that? Well, it's because during this past campaign, and in fact, during this Joe Biden administration, or maybe you'd call it the third term of the Obama administration, they surrendered themselves to hard left progressive ideas, ideas which probably cost them the election because they were so out of step with the rest of the country. But having staked them out, they now cannot walk them back. And I want to tell you a quick story here that I think illustrates just where the Democrats are. Now, in Massachusetts, you know Massachusetts, it's a very liberal Democrat, hard left progressive state. But there's a Democrat congressman there named Seth Moulton, and he made a big, big, big mistake in the past few days. He tried to talk to ordinary Americans and, I know, get this, meet them where they are on the whole alphabet soup of identity politics and gender identity. Speaking to the New York Times, he said something that I think, and I suspect you will think also, is completely reasonable. Here's what he said. He said, quote, Democrats spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges many Americans face. He went on and said, I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete. But, he said, as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. Well, the gap between where most Americans are on this, i.e. more or less in total agreement with Seth Moulton, and Moulton's Democrat colleagues tells you everything you need to know about their problem. And the backlash to what Moulton said was almost immediate. Massachusetts Democrat Governor Maura Healey accused him of playing politics with people.
There's too much conflating of things right now. And, you know, what I see and what I saw in that comment was playing politics with people. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. We should have real conversations and not play politics with people, particularly young people and folks who are vulnerable.
And plenty of others in his state party slammed him, and even Tufts University, a local big school around him, briefly suggested that students would not be able to take internships in his office. Happily, they walked that one back, but Moulton is not intimidated. He even went on Morning Joe on MSNBC to defend himself.
When people like this in our party try to cancel me or whoever else, they're also talking down, they're canceling the views of a vast majority of Americans. And so how on earth are we going to win elections if that's our approach, that we just want to preach down to people and tell them that they're morally wrong if they don't meet some strict ideological purity test?
Bingo! Good for him. And can you imagine where the Democrats would be if they had more people who were simply saying sensible things like that in their party? Because here's the thing, he has realized that this issue really is massive for people. And as you know, the last couple of weeks I've been in the United States talking to people both before and after the election. And I'll tell you something. Time and time again, when I was talking to people who voted for Donald Trump in the last election, they cited this ad as one of the key reasons why he got their vote.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Kamala is for they, them. Donald Trump is for you. The number of times I had people repeat this line back to me, I can't even tell you. But it gets to the heart of the matter. For the Democrats who have spent the past several years insisting that there are multiple genders, that men can have babies, that trans kids should have hormone treatments and life-altering surgery before they turn 18, and if they don't get them, then somehow it is erasing their identity, if not literal genocide? Well, I mean, you can see the problem for the Democrats. Once you stake out that position, it's pretty hard to walk back. How do you walk back from that? And it was interesting, though, how in the last days of the campaign, the Democrats did try to somehow walk away from some of that stuff. They tried to cosplay as normal folks, the camo hats, that awful ad with the men who claimed that they were not too afraid to vote for Kamala Harris for president. You remember that one? It was horrendous, and of course, it was disingenuous. It didn't work, and it won't work because people know where the Democrats' real beliefs really lie, and they are not with mainstream America. So, where to then for the Democrats? Well, I tell you what, it could be a very long time for them in the wilderness.